What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mom's Dinner. My name is Susie Weinrich. Here we are helping you feel successful at dinner time with super simple dinner recipes that are really delicious. We post a new recipe video every Tuesday, so you can come back here, get a new dinner recipe idea of something you can get on the table and that your family will love. So if that sounds good to you, we would love to have you subscribe and turn on your notifications. Today, we're gonna make a corn chowder for dinner. It's a soup. It's a thicker, creamier soup that is full of flavor. We're gonna do corn taken off the cob. We're gonna scrape the milk out of the cob. We're gonna add a little cornmeal for texture, thickness, and flavor. Bacon, always good. And then we're also gonna add some Yukon Gold potatoes to make this soup nice and hearty. So stick around because today I'm gonna share with you how to make the best corn chowder. We're gonna start this recipe with 5 or 6 ears of fresh corn. Now you're gonna want to remove the corn from the cob, and so I like to do this on a rimmed baking sheet. That just catches all the corn as it comes off the cob and any juices, because you wanna collect all of the flavor from the corn. Now, this is the first method by standing up the corn, running your knife along the edge, and all the corn comes off. If you're not as comfortable using a knife, the safer method is to lay it on its side like this and to run your knife down the edges, rotating the corn as you go so that you get all of the different sides of the corn. Now, if you feel like you're not getting all the corn off the cob, don't worry, because the next step, we're actually going to take the pulp and the milk out of the corn. So you're going to take the back side of a spoon and just run it down those cobs that you've already taken the corn off of. And you can see as I'm doing this, there's a ton of pulp and milk that's coming out of that cob. That is pure flavor. And you're actually going to get quite a bit out of all of those cobs. So just repeat this whole process with all 6 corn cobs, and then this corn can actually be set aside until we need it within the recipe. Now we're going to start to build the chowder. It's going to start with bacon. You need 6 strips of bacon, which you can cook whole, or you can chop it up and then crisp it up. I had kind of a smaller base in my pan, so I decided to chop it up first and then crisp it. So just let that saute in the pan until it's nice and crispy, like I have here. And then what you're actually gonna do is take a slotted spoon or a wooden spoon, and you're going to pull all that bacon out of the dish and put it on a separate plate. I used a paper towel lined plate here so that it can drain some of the extra grease out of the bacon, and you can actually set that to the side now too. But you want to reserve that bacon grease that's in the pot. Keep that in there because that's what we're going to use for our cooking oil for the onions and garlic. You need 1 large yellow or white onion diced and 3 garlic cloves minced. You're going to add that to that bacon grease and just get that sauteing for 5 to 8 minutes until those onions are starting to soften. Now, while you're sauteing the onions, you want to scrape up the bottom of the pan and get any of those bacon bits that are stuck to the bottom of the pan, because that is pure flavor. Once your onions are nice and soft, you're going to add a 4-ounce can of diced green chilies, and you're going to add 2 teaspoons of chicken base. This is kind of like a bouillon, but way more flavorful. And if you're making a soup for Mom's dinner, chances are it's going to have a soup base in there. So now we're going to add in some Yukon Gold potatoes. You want to have about 2 cups of peeled and diced Yukon Gold potatoes. You want them to be in about a 1/2 inch dice. Now we're going to add back all of that corn and the pulp and the milk that we took off of the corn cobs, and see how the rimmed baking sheet collected all of that juice. Make sure you scrape every single bit of that into the pot because that is pure flavor. Now we're going to season it with some Lowry seasoned salt. Start with about a 1/2 teaspoon, and then either a 1/2 teaspoon or a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and then we can season it a little bit more at the end when you taste. So now for the cooking liquid. We're gonna add a chicken broth or chicken stock, And you need 32 ounces. This carton is exactly 32 ounces, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pour it in there. If you have a homemade chicken broth or chicken stock, absolutely go ahead and use that. I'm gonna get this all stirred together, and then we're gonna let it simmer for about 20 minutes until the potatoes are fork tender. That's important that your potatoes are cooked through. All right, so the soup has simmered for about 20 minutes, and I checked and the potatoes are nice and tender. So now what we want to do is actually puree part of the soup. It's going to make it nice and creamy and give it a really nice texture. So I have an immersion blender, which I'm going to put together here real quick and get this plugged in. So I'm gonna use this and I'm gonna puree for just a little bit, to puree like about a third of the soup. So this is just gonna be an eyeball thing. Your other option, if you don't have an immersion blender and you just wanna use like a blender or a food processor, whatever you have, you can remove 2.5 cups of the soup, puree it, and then add it back. All right, it didn't take much. I think that's pretty good. And of course, it's up to personal preference. If you want more puree, do that. If you like it chunkier, just puree it a little bit. All right, so now we're gonna add in the final ingredients. And this is where we're getting a little bit creamier and some more texture. So I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of just a traditional yellow cornmeal. I'm gonna get that stirred in. Then we're gonna add in 1 cup of either a half and half or whole milk. Today I actually had a blend. I have a blend of 2% milk and heavy cream. So whatever kind of milk situation you have that's a little bit thicker and creamier than just a 2% works great. Now I'm gonna add in half a cup of sour cream. This is gonna add a nice flavor, a little bit of creaminess. And I'm gonna actually add that in with, this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. This is called, or at least I call it, a flat whisk. It is wonderful. It's my favorite whisk by far, because when you whisk, then the whole thing goes down in, and then you can whisk instead of, you know, just the tip going in, and then you have the whole whisk above the, whatever it is that you're trying to whisk. So I love this. You can see how everything kind of stays in there. So nice. So it's really great when you need to just whisk a little bit of something that's maybe in a flat pan. It works perfect. Okay. Get all the corn out of there. Then finally, we're gonna add in just a couple dashes of hot sauce. You add as many dashes as you want. Tabasco is my favorite, so we're gonna add just a few dashes. Now I'm gonna let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Let that cornmeal soak and kind of cook into the corn chowder, and then we're gonna build a bowl. We have a huge, delicious pot of corn chowder ready for dinner. All right, so I'm gonna build a bowl. This is how I like it. I'm gonna do a couple ladles full of the corn chowder. Trying not to spill it on my countertop. Too late. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like fresh corn and potatoes and cream and sour cream. I mean, that's good. Okay, so we've got our soup. I'm gonna add just a couple extra dashes of Tabasco because I like it. I'm gonna add in an extra dollop of sour cream on top because I like it. Some of that crispy bacon that we started the entire recipe with. And some chopped green onions. Makes for the most perfect bowl of corn chowder you've ever had. Now this is smoking hot, so I don't think that I'm gonna be able to take a bite right now. I Actually, what I'll probably do is just get a little bit on the spoon and, oh my God. Oh my God. You have to make this. Whoa. If you love summer sweet corn, whoa. This is where it's at. I also got a huge bite of Tabasco in my mouth. The potatoes make it hearty. That corn milk that we got out of the cobs of corn make it just extra corn flavor, just bursting with corn flavor. Definitely make this one. It is worth your time. It is worth the ingredients. It is so delicious. It is a perfect like end of summer, beginning of fall recipe when the corn is so good. You're absolutely gonna love this one. So of course, any of the equipment that I used here that I told you about, I'm gonna link down in the description box for you. And also a link to the full printable recipe for this corn chowder. So if you make it, comment and let me know how your family loved it, and let me know what toppings you liked on yours. So until next time, I hope that this amazing corn chowder recipe helps you feel like a success at dinner time. We'll see you next week.